So this was a great year for us, our first year on the project, and we started the competition of the double digging and laying down cardboard and redoing our lawn. So that was the main project for us, and mine involved the cardboard, the rabbit droppings, the chip drop, and clover. So we had that going, and we'll see the results of that next summer. And then we also, with Mary Kay's help, planted all sorts of great things. We had flowers, we had different types of plants that came up through the cardboard, and I ate a lot of the scallions and all sorts of great stuff. So we're going to replace those with a wildflower scatter for next summer and see how those do. And over to you, Ellen, about the double digging.
Well, I would just piggyback onto that by saying I think it was a big learning exercise this year, because a lot of the stuff the ideas we were kicking around a year ago, they're just ideas until you try to implement them and make them work in your yard, in our yard, which is, it's a pretty challenging piece of ground to work with. Everyone can attest to that brutal heat in the height of summer that's out there, and again, one of the goals is to minimize that water usage and really build an ecosystem that does well with just a little bit of water. And so, to come back to that question, right, I've got a part of the front yard there that I am double digging, and it's a brutal exercise, because you've really got just a solid clay. You got a couple inches of some topsoil, and then after that it's clay. But I'm trying to get down, try to get 12, 18 inches down, and then we're going to mound up. I mean, hopefully, cross fingers, by the time we get ready to plant in the spring, we'll have a nice chunk of ground that's got 18 to 24 inches of really great soil to work in, and then we can we'll really have a lot of fun trying out the different plants. So that's kind of what's coming up, and that's what we got started this year. So
yep, and Penny helped.
key contributor, Penny the dog.
Yeah, she was main event.
And I think we've got just another quick footnote, not a footnote so much, but just we've got some great inputs, great knowledge coming from Living Systems by Mary Kay. So that's awesome to have that, to go forward with. And then we've obviously got great audio-visual help with this project to document what we're doing. And again, with the intent to share the knowledge, and hopefully, and a few people might adopt some of the strategies, ideas from the things that we succeed with, and the things that we try and fail at. Well, that's learning, right? So. Well, yeah. So the double dig, I've opted to do that again with the intent to build a reservoir, or build I think Mary Kay used the term bathtub, so that we can store what little moisture we get. The goal is to add very little additional water to what we just naturally get. So that technique, what I'm experimenting with, is trying to build that reservoir where you can store a lot of moisture for those weeks on end when we have 90+ degree days, and the plants aren't drying up and dying. So that's the technique I've got going on that northeast side of the front yard there. And then your technique is?
So the competition is the double digging, which is laborious, with what I'm hoping is working smarter, not harder, and doing what Mary Kay has called the lasagna technique, where we have cardboard, and that's going to be something that is basically absorbed into the soil, but also blocking the current plants from coming up. There's still some remnant grass. And then we have our chip drop, which is the greenery, and then we have our nitrogen-rich animal droppings on top of that. And then we scattered, as I mentioned, clover, and we're going to do some seeds. And the whole idea is, again, that we don't want to draw on our water supply. And that's really important to us, and I think for the future, if we're going to be sustainable, as a community, we have to just stop draining all of the water supply, the Colorado River, for bluegrass and green lawns. It doesn't make sense. We have to look into other options. And so that's the excitement for us. And we hope other people are inspired to do the same thing, because whether they choose to or not is probably a reality down the road.
So the winter months, right? We are exiting December. It is the 21st of December into January, February. I mean, here I'm hoping that we get some nice weekends so I can go out and do my double digging, because like I said, I'm pretty far behind in what I need to accomplish. And so the goal is to, by the time we start ramping up for spring, we have some great places to plant into. So that's what I'm going to keep working on, is try to get that area ready to go for the spring. And then I think we're going to start some seedlings too, I think, probably. I forget the technique, winter sowing. So we're going to get some of those going. Hopefully do some fun experimentation with some new seed varieties and see what we can get going in our challenging environment. What are you thinking?
Well, last winter we put out some gallon water containers, and we started our seedlings in those containers. And again, on the advice of our permaculturist, we just put the seeds in soil, slice the containers, and set them out for the winter, and they sprouted. They did great, and we trusted her, and it worked. Even in the winter, those seedlings came up in the spring, and then I'm doing the wildflower scatter, and then hopefully the clover will do its thing, and we'll see the results in the spring. So maybe a little bit less labor, but those seedlings we're hoping are gonna be ready for us soon enough.
The big things that we're doing this spring, well, we lost a couple of our blue spruces in the front. I hate to lose a tree, but when we lost two of them, I totally think it was related to the super hot weather we had, because these are spruce trees, they're really mountain trees, and down here on the Front Range, I think it got too hot for them. I have no scientific proof of that, but we lost them. They're gonna have to get cut down. We have our arborist who's gonna do that. And then we probably need to think about what's gonna replace them, right? That's gonna be a big job recovering that area. But we'll be thinking along those lines. And one of the things we've talked with Mary Kay about is that we want to, in these areas that are going to be ready for planting, we want to be able to do kind of a tier architecture of plants. You want some ground cover, and then something mid-tier, and then something a little higher up. And so we'll be looking at I think building that, getting some ideas on what that will actually look like and where that will go. So that's the big stuff.
I think we're gonna transplant some of our berry trees.
That's true.
Our fruit trees, move them in different locations.
That's true.
And just continue the process into next year. And yeah, it's a tragedy to me that we lost these two beautiful spruce trees. And Skylar Prince from Prince Pruning is probably gonna take those out this winter.
Yep.
But it's part of the cycle of nature.
Wrong plant for the area, I think, given the reality of a 1.5 to 2 degree temperature rise.
Another thing is we had so many great sunflowers this summer, and we stomped those down to make home for the bees. We're keeping them. So I expect to see those again in the spring. One of the effects of the work we've done is that it caught the attention of neighbors, friends, family. They get curious. They want to know what's going on in that front yard with all the digging, with the cardboard.
The cursing.
And And then we are able to share our ideas for planting something that's an alternative to bluegrass. And we've shared our videos with some of our family, and just it comes up in the context, I think, of replenishing soil, which is starting to get some traction. People are realizing this needs to be done. Our soil is a precious commodity, just like they know about the air and the ozone. Soil is next in line that needs to be replenished, and then preserving water. So I think one of the big effects is just people asking questions, getting curious, and hopefully being influenced to do some of the same things.
Well, so the young couple that you were talking with, I mean, that's neat that they're interested in taking, kind of watching the development of the project and how it turns out, because they're in a very traditionally landscaped house, water intensive, a lot of work. I mean, they spend a lot, and I think they enjoy that work, but it's tending of non-native plants is kind of not the way we want to go, for sure. I mean, to each his own. But
and our neighbors next door got curious, and we had some good conversations with Don. They've gone more the rock route.
Well,
they have a lot of rock in their front yard.
So they inherited that from previous owners that decided to not. In my mind, that's not really landscaping. It's just low maintenance.
But they're thinking of alternatives. Correct. And they even gave us some cardboard. They got involved.
We'll get them over here too and helping us as we start to plan and plant in the spring. The ambition that I've always wanted to do is get to the point in our landscaping where we could actually make a meal from the everything harvested, grown, cultivated on the property. You could make a salad, or you could make something where, again, if you remember back to episode 1 of my inspiration was Jules Gervais and the urban homesteading movement, which got started out in California. I mean, they have half the size of mine, and they produce, I think they said 60% of there's 4 of them that live there, produce 60% of what they ate off their city lot, which was just amazing. So one of the great wins, one of the great fun things to target for next year in the fall, a fall harvest event, would be to actually have a sit-down meal of everything grown on the property, and so that would be that would be a great day for me.
Well, and one of the women at work was talking to me about all the toxins in soil, and that even with organic, you just don't know if your food's coming from pure soil. And we just work so hard with our compost, and it's just getting wonderful, the kind of soil we're producing here.
Yeah.
It's just fun to watch. It smells good. It seems clean. It has worms and things in it like soil should.
Yeah.
And I think that the food people that produce in your own yard is so much tastier, but also safer for our bodies.
Right.
So it's not just the biome of the soil, it's the biome of our own bodies that we're improving. So that's exciting to me.
Yeah.
And just to keep doing the same things and getting the word out. Next year in the channel, we'll have new products coming in terms of the plants we're planting. We will have more interviews. I'm excited about that. We probably will talk a little bit about solar. We have that queued up.
We'll be raffling off a Tesla Roadster to the 400th subscriber. So, that's a reason to subscribe.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I think that I really enjoyed interviewing people, learning new techniques, and we're going to be digging up some more people to interview.
Well, I think, and Mary Kay posted in our team channel a possibility for an interview, I think, with another one of your clients who's doing some, I didn't really drill deeply into their work in their yard, but it looked really interesting. Maybe we can have a couple more fun interviews with other practitioners of the permaculture art. Get some different perspective. Yeah, so this winter we're going to be working, and I think we'll have enough work to do that we should be able to get a couple more episodes out there before we hit it hard monthly in the spring. Maybe March, April, May, June we'll be back to hopefully a monthly schedule, but maybe we can get a couple episodes in between now and March.
I'd like to keep working during the winter. We have some pretty moderate temperatures during the winter.
Oh yeah, there's places.
Keep the team together.
In the
You
yard
guys have to
that
escape coming around.
that we'll be able to work in the winter because it just never freezes. Some of that
but
front area doesn't really ever get shaded, so it's going to be warm enough to work. So yeah, we'll have more content. Thanks for watching the channel. I've answered a couple comments. Actually, yeah, put the comments in the channel if you want to learn. Learn about anything that we're working on. But yeah, hang in there with us while we get going. And I think next year, I'm pretty excited about where we can be next year at this time. I think it'll be pretty dramatic as we start to. Last year was doing a lot of the groundwork, and we were kind of figuring things out and getting our footing. But I think we'll have some good, productive spring, summer, fall months ahead of us. So it'll be fun to stay tuned.
I just want people to get curious about alternatives for gardening and for lawn covering, and get real about the water supply and how we might want to preserve that for farmers who really need it. And it's less work once you get it started to have a lawn that maintains itself. I just